The third game we're going to look at this week is a Saturday night contest in Toronto with the Maple Leafs hosting again the powerful Boston Bruins. Seems we get Bruins a lot in these highlights, not only for their fistic action, but also because they're a good team. But this one was notable for another reason. It was another game that on paper should have been just a huge blowout for the Bruins. They're miles ahead of the Maple Leafs on paper, but of course, as we say, there's a reason they play the games. Toronto went into this one having lost 4 straight games amid reports of trades and firings and a general dysfunction on the Toronto organization. But the Leafs, before an unexpectedly shocked, actually home crowd, rose up and upset the Bruins by a score of 3-2. The fans in Toronto were appreciative, but actually somewhat stunned. This crowd, though, did respond with probably its loudest response to any Maple Leaf game in the last few years. This was, without a doubt, their noisiest behavior since the Leafs won a Stanley Cup in 1967. Throughout most of the second period and again late in the third, the shouting, stomping, handbanging melted into a gigantic, just overall noise causing suspicious types to wonder if it was canned noise imported from Boston Garden. Who would ever pipe crowd noise into an arena? I can't imagine that ever being the case anytime. I mean, this is 1970. Usually the Bruins, they're going to intimidate most teams with their brawn, with their edge to their play. But on this night, the Leafs really weren't impressed with all that. They had an erratic start, but they played at their most boisterous game of the season. And for Toronto, that's how they're going to have to play if they're going to beat a team like Boston. They won't do it often, but they did this night. Make no mistake, the Leafs did make a lot of errors, goofs, and miscues, but on those times when they couldn't clear the puck out of their own zone, which, by the way, on this night was quite often, goalie Bruce Campbell was there to perform the miraculous saves that he often does to keep the Leafs ahead of the Bruins at the final buzzer. The best of the Bruins was, as on many nights, Bobby Orr. He was at times skating leisurely, then flying, depending on what seemed to be his mood at the time. He kept trying to ignite his team with spectacular play. He controlled the puck, but the teammates really didn't respond on this one. Sometimes it was Orr versus the Leafs, and sometimes it seemed like it was Orr winning, but not all the way. Bruce Campbell was the reason. He just would not give up, and he thwarted Bobby on several occasions. Orr, by the way, did set up both Boston goals. He also sailed in alone on the Toronto net in the first period, but Campbell made a spectacular save on a laser-like shot. Orr turned Johnny Busick loose in the third period, and again, it was Bruce Campbell that outguessed him. Jim Harrison, Guy Trottier, and Billy McMillan were the Toronto scorers, while Derek Sanderson and Wayne Cashman were the Bruins that were able to beat the heroic Bruce Campbell. Harrison's goal came in the first period. It was a bit of a fluke, and we have how Bill Hewitt and Bob Goldham described that goal for you right here.
Rick Lee coming up the center. Pass to Sittler, over the line with Harrison. Harrison going in and goal, and he failed to put it in the empty net as he had it right behind Eddie Johnson. Here's right in front to Selwood a shot. That ends up in the corner. Sittler rapping forward. It hit Harrison's skate. Harrison didn't move, and therefore it's going to be a goal. We're going to take a look at this again, Bill, and we can judge for ourselves here on that pass out from the corner. Jimmy Harrison being checked, but definitely went off his left skate. Now, whether he made a move with his foot or not, here, we'll take a look at it again. Let's see if we can pick it up here on that. Watch his left skate here on the point of that crease as the puck comes out right off his heel.
Toronto goal scored by number 12, Harrison. Assist number 27, Sittler, and number 3, Selwood. The time, 17:22.
Gosh, it was nice to hear Paul Morris's voice once again announcing a goal at Maple Leaf Gardens. he was not the announcer when I began listening to hockey games. But he took over and he became the voice of Maple Leaf Gardens for me throughout much of my young life and most of my adult life. He just had a classy, no emphasis, no embellishment, just a very classy, forthright way of announcing a goal so that you knew exactly who scored it, who assisted, and what the time was. And really, that's all you need, isn't it? This game, by the way, marked the return to Toronto of defenseman Bobby Bond, who was acquired earlier in the week via trade, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Bond played his usual style. He was hitting everything that moved and even a few things that weren't, and his robust play seemed to infect the rest of the Leafs as well. Coach John McClellan said Bobby did all right for a guy who's had only 2 practices in 2 weeks. He really helped. This was, without a doubt, our best game of the season. The Leafs, by the way, just before the game found out that 41-year-old goalie Jacques Plante, who's actually been one of their few bright lights this season, has stretched knee ligaments, and he's going to miss from 3 to 5 games. They hope not much more than that. We wondered who would back up Bruce Campbell. A lot of people thought the Leafs would bring veteran Marv Edwards up from Phoenix, but Phoenix really thin in goal, needs Marv there. So General Manager Jim Gregory made a call to Tulsa of the Central League and brought up young Murray McLaughlin, who's the former University of Minnesota goalie. He's played very well in Tulsa this year. The Leafs have been hearing rave reviews about his work down there, so he's in the NHL to be Bruce Campbell's backup, and I do believe the Leafs will probably give the kid a start in goal next week.